Khalistani extremists heckled and attempted to attack External Affairs Minister Jaishankar in London. The attempt was made while he was leaving in a car after attending an event at the Chatham House. Now, it is not unusual to see the protests, but what is unusual is the visual of the man running towards Jaishankar's vehicle and tearing the Indian national flag. The attempt to heckle occurred right in front of London police officers. The pro-Khalistan supporters were seen holding the flag and staging a protest outside the venue where Jaishankar participated in a discussion. He is on an official visit to UK from March 4th to 9th, in which he will talk with his counterpart David Lammy and other key officials. The visit aims to bolster the India-UK comprehensive strategic partnership covering trade, health, education, people-to-people ties and defence cooperation. The MEA has responded to the attack. It says, we have seen the footage of a breach of security during the visit of EAM to the UK. We condemn the provocative activities of this small group of separatists and extremists. We deplore the misuse of democratic freedom by such elements. We expect host governments in such cases to fully live up to their diplomatic obligation. I have two questions and I'll straight away go to Ambassador Veena Sikri and Ajit Keja. My questions are, why did London police allow Khalistani groups to protest so close to the minister? Why does the UK not extend the same level of security that its ministers get during India visit? And the fact of the matter is, this is not the first time Khalistanis have come so close to the Indian establishment or a dignitary in UK. In 2023, the Indian High Commission was attacked. The UK has been lenient in dealing with Khalistani radicals, and I've inserted the picture in the graphic for people to see.
Yes, I fully agree.
And let me straight away go to Ambassador Sikri. Yes, madam, please go ahead.
Sorry. Well, I fully agree with all the questions you've asked, and they're correct questions, serious questions. The government of the UK is taking the visit of the security concerns of our External Affairs Minister's visit to the UK very lightly. The UK government should have been much more serious about it. And in fact, there have been comments that the way in which this person was allowed to run across and grab the car flag, it shows as though the UK police was ordered not to act. They literally turned a blind eye to a journalist a protester running across the road and clambering almost onto the External Affairs Minister car. It's a direct breach of security. The person could have been armed. He could have any kind of weapons in his hand. Why was it necessary for them to even agree to having a protest of the Khalistanis? You have already shown the visuals of what happened in 2023, and we had taken it up very strongly at that time and claim and claim in no unequivocal terms that this is not a question of democracy. This is a question of preaching secessionism from India. The so-called Khalistani group, as you can see, is very small, just a handful of people. But why should they be allowed to preach secessionism against India from foreign soil? Their activity should be severely curtailed. We would not allow such things to happen from Indian soil if it concerned the UK or any other country. But that the fact that the UK government is silent and the UK police has been told to turn a blind eye to whatever activities have been undertaken by this group running across the road and grabbing the flag, this is absolutely unacceptable, and there must be much stronger démarches to the British government on this.
Okay. Ajit, my question to you is, do you think that Khalistanis have made a domestic space for themselves in countries like Canada and UK? For example, in Canada electoral system, they have been able to use the Gurudwaras because you require a lot of nominations, to get a ticket, or so that a party can nominate you to fight the elections. Do you think that in UK and in Canada they have been able to create domestic space for them, and that is why, despite small in number, the leverage is so big?
Absolutely right. In fact, let me make your question stronger. It's purely political reasons, electoral reasons, why Canada, a developed democracy like Canada and UK in this and some of the other countries as well. California, for example, Northern California also has this problem, serious problem, that they continue to pander to what we call radical Khalistani elements, which is not doing a peaceful protest, but basically what they are doing is separatism, and as the ambassador rightly pointed out, secessionism from India. Now, this is a security threat. The act itself, the pictures that we saw, was totally reprehensible, abominable, I would argue, and one should condemn it in strongest terms, because if this happens tomorrow, who knows? There might be a VIP from India, and I hope it doesn't happen, who could be stabbed. It has happened in the past in London. So I think this has to stop, and India has to put a very strong position to diplomatically to the UK and to Canada and other countries where this goes on all the time. So I think, protests are fine. If you're a democracy, peaceful protests are allowed everywhere in the world, but not this kind of act, and not on the issue of religious identity causing secessionism.
I will put it even differently, Ambassador Sikri. How would the government of UK feel if Indian government allows a revived Irish Republican Army to protest in front of their High Commission in New Delhi and allow them a peaceful protest for 30 days every day? I mean, say Khalistanis, the protest might be peaceful, but the intentions are not peaceful. How can they forget Kanishka? How can they forget what has happened in Punjab in 1980s?
Well, absolutely right. It is quite clear that the government of UK and also the government of Canada that you just spoke about, they do not take their international obligations under the Vienna Convention seriously. They do not give enough respect to India's diplomatic representatives, to the senior-most Indian Minister of External Affairs, and also to other the Indian High Commission representatives in the UK, to the Indian High Commissioner in the UK. They do not give enough respect to the obligations that they have under international conventions, and then they want to talk to India about human rights and things like that, where they cannot even respect the very basic rights of diplomatic representatives in the UK and of the External Affairs Minister of India. And I think you're quite right that India would never allow such a protest in Delhi, because we take our international obligations very seriously, and we would consider that if such an attack were to take place without the consent of the Indian government, it would be a breach of our international obligations. And if it were to take place with the connivance of the Indian government, it would be totally reprehensible, and it will never happen in India, never. But in the UK, the fact that it has taken place and this so-called peaceful protest was allowed, and that somebody was allowed to dash across the road right into the car when External Affairs Minister was physically getting into the car, is a breach of the security of the highest order. And there should be an answer for this. Why was it allowed to happen? Why would the policemen allow it to happen? Why did they turn a blind eye? And then always they say, oh, we'll look into it, and they never come back with any answer. They did that in 2023, and I'm sure they'll do it again. Now, yes, we'll look into it, and that's it. They never come back with any answer. Electoral politics is all right for your own reasons, but it cannot affect other countries. It cannot affect, it cannot support secessionist movements in other countries.
Ambassador Sikri, what is the reason behind this? Ambassador Sikri, what is the reason behind this revived aggression last 3 years? From Australia to Canada to UK to America. I mean to say, there is no Khalistani movement in Punjab, but internationally it seems to have received some sort of a nourishment.
Well, I think 4 years of the democratic, deep state operating in the US, certainly there's some kind of, increased aggression, revivalism has taken place. But we hope that now, under President Trump, that there will be a complete clamp down on such incidents. And we've seen indeed that after President Trump has taken power, there's been a sharp reduction in any such incidents, not even a statement out of the previous so-called secessionists. And you're quite right, they have no support at all in the Punjab. That's all the more reason that, the UK government should know. They themselves, their representatives visit the Punjab and talk to the people there. They know that there is absolutely no support either in the Punjab or in any other part of India for such secessionism. There's no talk of it at all. It is not an electoral issue at all. And yet, for their own internal political electoral politics, electoral compulsions, they try to do this against what they describe as a friendly country like India. They talk of the FTA, they talk of improving relations, and then they allow such, absolutely reprehensible attacks to take
Correct.
place. So we have to clamp down very strongly. We have to make it very clear again and again and again. There is no option except to do it in the strongest possible words.
Ajit, very quickly before I close the show, is it about lack of sensitivity or is it about the fact that they use these people or these organizations like strategic assets? Because I recall in 2015 when Prime Minister Modi was there, I was staying in San Jose. I traveled all the way to the Facebook headquarters, and when I was crossing the road to go to the Facebook headquarters where he had his speech, I saw these 50 people standing with Khalistani flags there, and they were doing the protest, distributing samosas, and they went away. And I thought that why were they allowed here? I mean, the police could have told them, sorry, you're not allowed to protest here, and that's about it. Because the Facebook headquarters, you would know, it's a highway. It's not a road. They were actually allowed to protest that petrol station outside that Facebook headquarters, which is a highway.
My answer would be, as our diaspora numbers increase all over the world, especially in these Western democracies, what tends to happen is some of these groups, like in this case, as we are talking about Khalistanis, they are very well organized. They have, they control enormous amount of land. I have talked to some of these people in the past in Northern California, for example, who would own 10,000 acres of land, for example, in Yuba City in Northern California. So they are very rich. They are very well connected through the gurudwaras and other sort of cultural activities. They tend to be very well organized, and therefore their voices are heard, their votes seem to matter, whereas the rest of the diaspora...
I think there's a bit of a problem with Ajit's line, but yes, I completely agree with Ambassador Sikri that a detente is required. And I think apart from the fact that a strong objection has been made, something needs to be done that in a tangible way the government of UK understands that you can't do this with India's foreign minister.